this is Joshua Kirk back with you guys once again on YouTube, and now it's time for episode 19 of Album of the Day. And as for this episode, I'm gonna try something a little different. I'm gonna, instead of reviewing just one album and just doing a review of just that, I'm gonna do something a little different that some people on the internet have done, like some people on YouTube have done, which has been reviewing several albums by just doing shorter reviews of them than you would if you were reviewing just one album. So I got about 8 albums here, and they're all indie albums, so today we're just gonna do the, indie albums today, like some of the ones that definitely have sort of that indie rock sound with a mix of guitars, bass, drums, vocals, along with some keyboards or synthesizers or electronics or drum machines or something like that. And others that are just, back to basics indie rock that have very natural instrumentation to it and not a whole lot of drum machines or edits or anything. So I'm gonna get started on the short review here of all the indie albums that I've pretty much heard so far in 2013. Starting out with the latest album by Tengo entitled Fade. Tengo is a band that were formed in Hoboken, New Jersey, which is spot on because some of my roots come from New Jersey. In fact, I have been there before. Anyway, Hoboken, New Jersey is where Tengo, this indie rock band, were formed. And they've been putting out albums since the mid-'80s, and this is, I think this is their 13th album entitled Fade, released on their longtime record label, Matador Records. Front here, really cool cover, the metallic look on there. Spine, back. Songs are Is That Enough? Well You Better, Paddle Forward, Stupid Things, I'll Be Around, Cornelia and Jane, 2 Trains, The Point of It, and Before We Run. So let me show you the front, the spine, and the back again. And this is a slipcase. In fact, this is the actual case here, what it looks like without the slipcase. Alright, so I guess we'll do it like that. Here's the liner notes there, and then there's a little drawing there. It was part of a drawing contest. I just recorded during the summer of 2012, and there's the CD itself with all the beautiful colors on there. Yeah, looks like without the CD. I will admit, this album I really dug. Definitely one of my favorite albums of the year so far. Is definitely a really cool track. It's definitely got sort of that noise rock vibe that Tengo has had on some other records. And it's got a really awesome guitar solo from Ira Kaplan. And has these really catchy vocals and lyrics of for example, the opening lyrics of sometimes the bad guys come out on top, sometimes the good guys lose. And while the vocals may not sound the most clear on the album, the lyrics are definitely very catchy and fun to sing along to a little bit, even though I don't really know a whole lot of the words. And this funny thing is, I could swear that electric guitar is probably out of tune after the noise solo that Ira Kaplan has done on this track, which took the song to a whole new level in my opinion, and definitely made it one of the best tracks of the year, and the video for it is really cool. Animated music video, and if if you haven't seen the video for that song, I strongly recommend you do. Especially if you're a really big fan of the band, this album, that song, and if you're looking for an awesome video to pair with that song. So it's definitely voted one of the best songs of the year for me, in my opinion. Is That Enough has some really beautiful string arrangements on it. Well, You Better has some really catchy, like, cute little synthesizers in there. Paddle Forward sort of turns up the amps and goes for a more back to basics rock and roll thing. Stupid Things is a much slower, straightforward track with a pretty good guitar bass on there. I'll Be Around has some beautiful finger-picked acoustic guitars on it. Cornelia and Jane actually has Georgia Hubley, the drummer of the band, singing the lead vocal, and I think her voice is really pretty, so I can see why. She has a perfect voice for this track, and it has very lush horn arrangements on it, too. Two Trains is a pretty cool song, too. I think the drum machine on it is really just soothing, and the keyboards in the background really do add some depth to the song, which I think really work. The point of it is a lot more stripped down, I guess. It's more of an acoustic-based song, but it has these really has this electric guitar with a heavy tremolo effect going on in it, along with some really heavy piano and keyboards. Oh, I forgot to mention another great thing about Is That Enough is the uniqueness of the rhythm guitar in it. Sort of has this very subtle, yet very industrial fuzziness to it. And the closing track, Before We Run, is definitely one of the highlights for sure. The song has a lot of the production on that song, I will admit, is definitely some of the best on the album, in my opinion. Like the horns, when the horns come in, they really take it to a whole new level. The strings are nice to sort of wrapping around the song, and just really cool jam, really top-notch drums, and some really cool, like, fuzzy guitar effect in the background to back up the lead guitar in here. And Georgia Hubley sings on this song once again, the lady who plays drums and also plays a little guitar and keyboards sometimes. Like if you look at the Morning Becomes Eclectic session. I think I have something else to say about, I don't really think I have anything else to say, but this album is great, so I give this one maybe an 8 or a 9 out of 10. Like, not a single weak spot. Local Natives, Hummingbird, once again. Here's the front of here, spine, and the back. This is the deluxe edition. Songs on here are You and I, Heavy Feet, Ceilings, Black Spot, Breakers, 3 Months, Black Balloons, Woolly Mammoth, Mount Washington, Columbia, Bowery. Those are all the tracks that are on the standard version and on this deluxe edition. And it says, including bonus tracks, which are Palms, 1111, and Ingrid. Released on French Kiss Records. And speaking of French Kiss Records, I used to have the Local Natives Hummingbird poster that came with this CD on the wall. It isn't really there anymore, but of course French Kiss Records saw that I had the poster and then really liked that fact and sent me a package filled with a bunch of CDs from French Kiss Records, like The Antlers, Hospice, which I heard, excellent record, very emotionally moving. And records like that. and they also sent me the vinyl version of this album along with the vinyl of their first album, Gorilla Manor. And I listened to this on vinyl. Sounds excellent on vinyl, even better than the CD. So I highly recommend you check out the vinyl. And they gave me like the super-sized poster with the vinyl of Hummingbird, which is pretty cool. There's the band there. Like I just showed you what it looks like without that slip cover on there. Let me show you the lyric booklet inside of here. There's like a nice little photo there. And then on the back, there's all the lyrics. And while some of the lyrics can be a little hard to read, as this dog ate my vlogs might say, it is, pretty cool that, they have the lyrics. Wouldn't be fair otherwise. Even though I have nothing against an album without a lyric booklet. Like, I'm not skeptical about it. Here's the credits, the liner notes, the additional musicians. Like, this album is produced by Aaron Dessner, who is one of the guitar and keyboard players, I believe, for a band called The National. And someday I should review their new album, Trouble Will Find Me, because what I've heard from it so far is pretty good. Like, I heard the whole thing recently. Wait, here's the liner notes. Artwork of, like, clouds. Yeah, album cover for this is pretty cool. And here's the CD. There it is. Don't really need a pristine look of that. Alright, so, that's the album. That's the packaging of Hummingbird. Some of the highlights for me include You and I. That's definitely a great song. The vocals on there are very powerful, really remind me of some really old, like, 70s soul music, like Curtis Mayfield or something. Heavy Feet has some pretty nice drums with like a hand clap beat or something like there in the background. Like catchy guitar riffs, pretty catchy hook that just goes after everything. Ceilings is a lot more chill. It definitely does sound a lot more acoustic. Lyrically it's pretty interesting. Black Spot is one track on the album that a lot of people seem to say is their least favorite track on the album, but I don't really think that way. I think the song is actually pretty cool. I feel like it starts out with just this really intense piano chord, and then eventually it builds up. There's the drums coming in, and I think the build-up on that song is really just awesome with the climax and everything. The single Breakers is excellent. Definitely one of my favorite songs of the year, in my opinion. Once again, the really catchy drums with backed by a hand clap beat. So like the drumming on the song is really top notch, and these really spooky synthesizers in the background, along with some catchy little guitar riffs. 3 Months is definitely, once again, has the awesome vocals that Kelsey Ayer has, which totally remind me of Curtis Mayfield. Like, you can feel the emotion of this song. Like, I swear the song is probably about the death of a family member of his or something like that. Black Balloons is an okay song. Kind of my least favorite track. I mean, it's a good song, but, just doesn't feel as powerful as the rest of the tracks. Woolly Mammoth is pretty good, has sort of this new wave vibe to it. Mount Washington is definitely a standout track for sure with all the instruments in there. Has the acoustic guitar, but then it has all kinds of instruments, like this really funny little, like, bassy synthesizer in the background, just played very steadily. And in the song, there's also one thing that's really stuck out to me. You can't hear it very well without headphones, but in the background there's actually an upright bass played with a bow. Columbia has some really lush and beautiful string and horn arrangements on it, and the closing track, Bowery, just closes out the album on a really positive note. It's just basic indie rock sort of sound, like straightforward sound that really just hits right at home for me. I really like the bonus tracks, but I'm not going to talk about those because those aren't really important. The tracks on the standard edition that are also on here are the most important, so it's a great album. 8 out of 10. Jim James, Regions of Light and Sound of God. Front, here's Jim there, the shadow of Jim, it looks like. Pretty cool. Spine, back. Songs are State of the Art, AEIOU, No Till Now, Dear One, A New Life, Exploding, Of the Mother Again, Actress, All Is Forgiven, and God's Love to Deliver Us. So this is definitely a shorter album, for sure, since there's only 9 songs on it, but it runs for 38 minutes, which is good because, you know, the problem with an album is when it just ends so abruptly, in my opinion, that it just, you know, lacks, you know, all the, and that when it lacks all the, like, you know, coolness of an album, like, you know, good thing this runs for a long time, but I've heard plenty of albums out there that really do run for a short time that are actually really good. There's like Jim's dental thing, like he looks like he went to the dentist and then decided, okay, that looks cool, let's do that for album artwork. It's kind of freaky, yet it looks pretty cool. I don't know what the artwork on here for is. Looks, I don't know if it's like them trying to get a hot air balloon or something. Who knows? I might be right, or I might be wrong. If I'm wrong, please tell me in the comments section. But I believe I'm right, because it looks like a hot air balloon to me. Here's the lyrics, which looks like Jim James's own handwriting. And then there's the liner notes at the bottom. And of course, Jim James is the lead singer of the phenomenal band My Morning Jacket, who I saw live at Merriweather Post Pavilion when they were doing the tour with Ryan Bingham. I believe that's how you pronounce his last name, Wilco, and Bob Dylan. So their set was really awesome. They nailed it. And Wilco played, and they were a lot more laid back, I guess, but they were cool. Like, I was occasionally, you know, getting up and, you know, digging it, like, you know, bopping my head. And then there are other times where I was just chilling and enjoying. Bob Dylan played, and believe it or not, I didn't really stay for that, because I was tired, and besides, I was really here for My Morning Jacket anyway. As for the tracks on here, State of the Art, AEIOU is a great one. Just the way it starts out with just Jim James on voice and piano, and then eventually it starts to build up, and you know, there's all kinds of crazy things going on. This really just these really light guitar riffs, along with some guitar riffs, along with sort of a really warm and fuzzy and thumping bass line, and then what seems to be some crazed out string instrument in the background or whatever. Could be a string section, or it could be something else. Sounds more like a string section to me, actually. And it sort of talks about the art of technology a little bit. Not in a cheesy way, but in a rather, like, emotional and, forgiving way, I guess. No Till Now has lots of cool, like, sort of keyboard and synth things going on with it. All these different effects. Sounds like a bunch of strange synthesizers put together into one pretty cool track. Dear One has a more straightforward pop arrangement, I guess, but it has this really eclectic piano riff and the background that really does add an interesting flavor to the song. And then there's this really buzzed out whining guitar. It sounds like a riff that My Morning Jacket forgot to put on Z or something like that. A New Life is definitely one of my favorite songs of the year, in my opinion. The track, I like how, once again, just like State of the Art, it starts out with just Jim with voice and instrument, but instead of Jim on voice and piano, this time it's Jim on voice and acoustic guitar, and then eventually it builds up. It starts out slower, so I expected it to be sort of a slow tempoed song at first, and then the drums came in, and the tempo got faster, and I was all like, wow, this track is going to be different, and it's going to be amazing. And thankfully enough it was, this left me jumping around my room, just how awesome the build-up jam was. There's the keyboards coming in, and then there's actually a saxophone in here, which I think is really cool too, and just a top-notch vocal performance from Jim James, in my opinion, especially with all the reverb on there. His voice just has that distinctive flavor that I've never heard from anyone else. I also forgot to mention the end of No Till Now, since it's sort of a 6-minute track. After 4 minutes is sort of a sort of a keyboard synth string section and drums sort of jam. It has a saxophone in it, and the ending actually happens to sound sort of like a sample of an old jazz record, which no one has ever said, which is surprising, with piano and jazz drums and saxophone. Exploding is a really beautiful instrumental with just nothing but a guitar, a mellotron, a string section, and a little nice, cute little electric guitar riff in there. There's an acoustic guitar, the mix of acoustic and electric guitar in the song really stuck out to me. And then the really beautiful mellotron came in, the really lush string arrangements, and it's a really short but sweet instrumental right there. Definitely one of the most beautiful instrumentals I've heard all year, in my opinion. The Mother, again, has sort of a breezy, sort of electric piano drift and sort of feel to it. But then it gets a lot of interesting instrumentation, a bunch of samples and the guitar lead really caught my attention, especially because of the fact that Jim James has actually sampled a riff from a Dr. Dog song, Fat Dog, which has never been recorded on a Dr. Dog album, but it's been performed live non-stop, pretty much every other concert. He sampled the riff from that, so I have to give him a lot of credit for that. And then there's a nice little guitar lead that isn't sampled from the Dr. Dog song. Is pretty cool. Actress is really powerful. It really has that emotion in there that I don't really see a whole lot of the emotion on this album. Not that it's bad, but just I didn't really feel a whole lot of emotion in here until this song came up. This one is really a standout in my opinion. I mean, just the string arrangements and everything is just top notch in my opinion. All Is Forgiven definitely does deal with religion. His use of the brass section on the song with the saxophone and everything really just make the song one of the most unique sounding on the album. Definitely makes it stand out for sure. And lyrically, I sort of look at it as a song about Jim James is praying that all sins are forgiven. And then the closer, God's Love to Deliver, has really just nice and really just beautifully produced multi-tracked vocals from Jim James that really just sound so heavenly, in my opinion. With some, and it has unique instrumentation. It has acoustic guitars and banjo and like saxophone in there, some like drums that sound like nothing but some snares with a brush in there. And lyrically, it's sort of a song, about like how God's definitely got a lot of love to deliver to all those that have died over the years. So, like, for example, when he mentions like Martin Luther King in one lyric, just a beautiful closer in my opinion. That's Jim James' Regions of Light, Son of God. This album is definitely, it does seem a little messy at times, but it's still a great album. So I'm going to have to give this one maybe a 7 or an 8 out of 10. And then I decided I'm going to make this a part 1 and then do a part 2 in another video. Last thing I'm going to talk about in here is this new Depeche Mode album, Delta Machine. Depeche Mode, I'm pretty sure you guys probably all know who they are. This a legendary electronic band that have been around since about like the early 80s. And my dad actually used to have a bunch of old cassette tapes of earlier Depeche Mode albums, but for some reason I don't think they're around in the house anymore. They're probably given away to a yard sale or something like that. But I haven't listened to the whole thing of Delta Machine, but what I heard so far is really good, in my opinion. Like, some Depeche Mode fans are probably let down by this album, saying it sounds too mainstream or it doesn't sound as fun as some of their other stuff. But I disagree with those people. Thankfully, there are plenty of critics and plenty of fans that are really enjoying the album, so I'm sort of in that category. Anyway, here's the front. I must say I really dig this album cover with the words Depeche Mode Delta Machine. Like the D and the M look really cool, just written big like that, and, like handwritten like that. It's like red and white, so this is definitely one of my favorite album covers of the year, in my opinion. Spine, back. Song, that's the back. Let me show you the front again. Front, spine, back. Songs in here are Welcome to My World, Angel, Heaven, Secret to the End, My Little Universe, Slow, Broken, The Child Inside, which has Martin Gore, the other keyboardist in the band, and also the guitar player in the band singing, which I think is really cool. His voice sounds really just very cool, in my opinion. Soft Touch, Raw Nerve. I really love that song a lot. Just a lot of energy in that one. Should Be Higher. Really cool song. Haven't really heard the whole thing, but I've heard most of it, and that song is definitely one of the highlights, one of the standouts for me, for sure. Just really cool synthesizers going on in there. Like this really cool drum beat in here, too. Alone, Soothe My Soul, and Goodbye. I forgot to mention, this Jim James album is released on ATO Records. This one is released on a more major label, Columbia Records, which has been the label for a bunch of people, like Bruce Springsteen and stuff, and now becoming the label for more major artists now, like Train and stuff like that. But anyways, we're not really here to talk about that. We're here to talk about, like, Depeche Mode, Delta Machine in here. Alright, here's the front of the booklet, and here's the lyrics. I think the handwritten song titles is a pretty cool idea in here. Doesn't really have the lyrics for Soothe My Soul or Goodbye, which is a shame, but oh well, at least it has the lyrics for the rest of the songs. Really the key there. There are the song titles, like who wrote the songs, and then there's the liner notes there. Produced by Ben Hiller and programmed by Christopher Berg, and has additional programming and vocal recording by Kurt. Really unique that they attempt to make quite a sound even without any real drums in here. Since I haven't heard the whole thing, I'll definitely just talk only a little bit about it. Welcome to My Role is just a really awesome opener. It really does, make you excited right off the bat. Instead with other albums where you're sort of looking a lot deeper to find a really top-notch moment. But however, this opener, it gets you engaged right away, and and then just gets a 1, 2, 3 punch once you get Angel in here, and the song Heaven is a really great single, the piano and the guitar and everything. Lyrically, the song definitely has a lot of emotion to it, so I will admit that this song is definitely one of my favorite singles of the year, in my opinion. And I like how the instrumentation is done very modern, but very steadily, so that way it doesn't distract from the vocal, because I will admit the vocal is definitely the most prominent instrument here. Secret to the End has a pretty catchy and cool chorus, which, that one does seem a little bit messy, but yeah, that one's pretty cool. My Little Universe is sort of a track about how we have that little world that's always just expanding every now and then. Slow has really cool, nice, lush, surprisingly lush electric guitar riff on here. Broken has some pretty honest lyrics on it. I already mentioned Child Inside, really cool with Martin Gore singing. Lots of, and once again, as I said, Soft Touch and Raw Nerve is definitely the most energetic on the album, in my opinion. Even without any real drums, just the programmed drums. But anyway, I think the song is really energetic with this really weird sort of buzzing guitar, along with just some really just killer synth playing on here, along with just that really just energetic drum machine. Should Be Higher is definitely a lot slower, and I will admit that one's definitely a pretty cool song. I don't have much to say about the last 3 tracks because I haven't really heard the whole thing of them, but I definitely will admit that those tracks are definitely sound great so far from just what I've heard so far. So what I've heard so far from Delta Machine is definitely some really top-notch electronic music, just like you would expect from an older Depeche Mode album. So I'm going to give this one maybe, I think once again a 7 or an 8 on this. I think I'm going to go with an 8 out of 10 on this thing. So that's going to wrap it up for part 1 here, and I'll see you for part 2.